Matt's out helping Papa Tony today, so it'll just be me and Katie for supper. I'm going to make something that I make often for us. It's very, very simple chicken soup. Now, I like chicken soup. I bet you do too. One of the ones that comes to mind that I really like, Corey makes, is like a white chili. You've heard them called that, with the white beans and chili. It's really good. I like chicken noodle soup. I like just all kinds of chicken soups. This one is really, really simple. And for some people, they might say, well, it's not got enough complex flavors or something like that. That's probably true. But it's just one of the dishes I like to make that's super simple to put together. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really quick too. That's the other thing, is that it's kind of a quick chicken soup. Sometimes things like that take a long time, you know, and you want to really let all those flavors marry and cook all day. This is one that you can pretty much whip up just in no time. What takes the longest is actually cooking the chicken. Now I have just 3, and again, I should say this, preface this to say, I never make it exactly the same. It's just kind of, I throw in what I have on hand, and sometimes the vegetables are different, and sometimes the chicken pieces are different, but most of the time, since this is one that I do when I'm really wanting to just hurry up and get it done and be done with it, I use chicken breast. I like the brand Harvest. I think it's just Harvest. Maybe it's Harvest something else. Ingles sells it in my area, my grocery store, and I think Walmart does too. But it's just kind of like an organic or all natural or whatever chicken. So you can buy, a lot of times in the freezer section, you can buy it already. They come in little plastic packs. You know, it's just a small chicken breast that's frozen when you buy it. So it's a little bit cheaper that way, especially if you find them on sale. I like to keep some of those though in the freezer for this recipe, but then also because the breasts are just really small and little, you can pound them out. I think we've done that in some of our videos maybe at one time, you know, kind of pound them out thin and fry them, and they're really good like that. Chop them up and put them in for a quick stir fry. It's just really simple and easy to use them. I am one of those people that generally think if you have bone-in chicken, it has more flavor. So I'm aware of that, and I even go along with that. But for this recipe, this is what I like to use. So I just have 3 of the just really small ones. And I've also got, that's a little over half a stick of butter. Sometimes, like I said, it might not even be that much, or I might put a little bit more. That was what I had in my refrigerator, just where we'd cut off of it to use for something else. Set this back here. Now when it comes to cooking the chicken for the soup, you could fry it, you could do that. I like to poach it or boil it so that I have the broth, because I use that broth for actually part of the soup. So I do it that way. If you wanted to fry it, Matt thinks it has much more flavor. If he's going to make something like this, he'll fry the chicken first and then put it in the soup. But this is how I do it. So I've got, of course, some water here. I just cover it with water. And just kind of cook it slow. It takes about, I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that. And then when it comes to seasoning, again, it's just, I probably don't ever do it the same each time. Lots of times I just use, my salt's kind of needs to be broke up, salt and pepper. If I've got some herbs outside, the frost has got them all now, but I might add some of those. I like to add, I like rosemary with chicken, so I might add some rosemary. Sometimes some garlic. I didn't get no garlic out this time. And then we're all huge fans of oregano, so I've got some oregano. I'm gonna put some in there. It smells good already, just with all those spices. Make sure my chicken's all covered. And then I'm gonna put this on the stove and just kind of cook it, not at a high heat or anything, just kind of bring it up to a simmer and let it simmer for about 20 minutes, and then I'll show you what I do next. So the chicken cooked about 20-25 minutes, something like that. You can see how tiny the little pieces are. And I'll just dice it up. I'll let it cool for a few minutes. Of course, as small or as large as you like, whatever you like. I like little pieces though, that's what I like. So I did make sure to save all the, you can see over here behind me, the broth that it cooked in. So I'll use that when I get ready to actually put it all together. Make sure Another strange thing, I like, Matt would be the opposite, but in the soups that I make that have meat in them, I like a small amount of meat and still a larger portion of the vegetables. If you think about that, in the broth, I like brothy stuff. So now I've got all those. I'm just going to set this board over here. That will be ready when I'm ready for it. Get a bowl and one other thing. Forgot was my peeler here. Piece of chicken I dropped. So when it comes to what kind of vegetables, I just use whatever, again, that I've got in the refrigerator, usually what needs to be used. Now these are some of those our wonderful carrots that we grew this year. Get another bowl to use for my trash bowl. So I want to definitely use them. Give them a good rinse there. And I'm just going to chop them up. You could do rounds if you want to, any way you want to. I like to usually do them at least in half rounds, but most of the time I just dice them, give them a dice. Okay, then I've got a great old big onion. I'm going to use the onion, so I'm just going to dice it up like that. Now I've got the onion chopped up. I normally don't have any celery to put in it, but it's got some bad places on it. I'd borrowed some from Granny for my carrot salad and didn't use it all, so I might as well throw it in there. Just a little, not much. Now I'm going to go over to the stove and I'm going to start, there's another piece of celery, I'm going to start these in my pot, and then I'll come back and do the rest. So I've got a little bit of butter in there. I'm just going to put just a tiny bit of olive oil to go with it, maybe a little bit more than that. This is the same pot that I cooked the chicken in. I just poured the broth out into a bowl, a measuring bowl. I'll let that melt for a few minutes. Okay, now that it's all melted, I'm going to put in the onions and the carrots and the celery. I'm going to add some salt to them, some pepper, and then I will continue just the spices I'm using today. Some other day I might do something different, but I'll add a little bit more of the oregano that we really love, and rosemary. It smells wonderful. I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. While that's cooking, I'm going to cut up the rest of my vegetables. And the reason I do it this way is I'm going to use some squash and zucchini. And if I cook them that long, they'll just kind of turn into mush. They still get really soft, even just cooking in the soup. But this just protects them a little bit more, since it'll take the carrots and the onions especially a little bit longer to get soft. So I've got those over there going, and then I'm going to chop these up, and I'll add these again to the pot. I've got 2 squash. They look really bad, both of them, so I'm just going to have to trim out the bad places and then use the good places. These are ones that were hiding in the bottom of my refrigerator, and I don't want to waste them, but I don't necessarily want to eat those bad places either. And the size is just whatever you prefer. I just do them in a pretty rough dice. They will cook so fast. It won't take them long. Put those there. If you use squash like this in a soup, like the chicken, it gives a sweetness to it because the squash is kind of sweet. This one's really pitiful. I don't even know if there's enough I could save off of it. Maybe cut out the outside of it. And I've got a little zucchini. It's better than the squash, but it's got one bad place on it too. I'm going to cut that off. Right there. Okay, I got it all chopped up. Got about 5 more minutes. I'm going to let that cook, and then I'll add this to the pot. I like to cook it. You can see it's getting some little brown places. I think that gives great flavor. So now I'm going to add my squash, zucchini. And I'm going to cover it and let it cook just a few minutes, about 3 minutes. Now I'm going to add that stock that I cooked the chicken in, add it back. Let's see how much we end up with. I may need to add either some water, or I've got some chicken stock I could add just if I wanted to. And I'm going to add the chicken. It looks pretty good, but I am going to add a little bit more. I don't know if I'll add chicken stock or maybe a little bit more water. I think I'm going to add some water. And the reason is I'm also going to add a big jar of rice here. I like to just add like a handful of rice. I guess that's about 1/4 of a cup or something. Just add that right in. Maybe a little bit more. And that will take up some of the moisture, some of the liquid. And I'm going to put the lid back on it and let it cook till the rice is done, which is about, I don't know, 10 or 15, 20 minutes at the most. If you were in a hurry, like I usually am if I'm, cooking supper, especially at the end of a long work day or something like that, I would turn it up pretty high and just really watch it and let it boil hard. And then as soon as the rice is done, it's ready to eat. I'm not in that big of a hurry today, so I'm just going to let it kind of simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, it's been simmering about 20 minutes and I'm calling it done. You can see the rice pieces have got done. That's really all I was waiting on. Everything else was already cooked. You can also see I like mine really brothy, just like I like my soup beans and my chicken and dumplings and everything else. I love that thin broth like that. Okay, it's not supper time, but I'll get a little bit out, see if I can taste it. Let's give me a little bit. Normally, if I make this, if everybody's here, if Matt and everybody's here, I make cornbread and we eat it over top of cornbread. I bet you could guess that. But sometimes, like today, I won't make the cornbread. Me and Katie will just eat it with, I'll eat it with crackers. Katie probably just eat it by itself. She won't eat it with anything. But I'll put it just over crackers. I like saltines with it, and I also like more of the buttery type cracker with it. The broth is really flavorful and good. I can taste that rosemary. Let me get me a piece of chicken. Because I like that brothiness. Just that little, about a quarter of a cup of rice doesn't really, gives it some body and some heartiness, but it doesn't really make it thick. Really good. I like the chicken, but truthfully, the vegetables and the broth, it's my favorite part for sure. So such a very easy recipe to do. I just wanted to share it with you. There's a lot of more fancy, complicated ones out there, but this one is really hearty. And I love it that I can just use whatever vegetables I have on hand. Sometimes, especially Matt, he likes it if I put peppers in it. I had some peppers in there, but I asked Katie and she didn't want them, and I don't really like them as much either. I really love the combination, that's my favorite, of the carrots, the onions, and the squash and zucchini, or one or the other. Sometimes I just have a squash or just a zucchini. And I usually don't have celery, but I had that little bit thanks to Granny. Of course, the spices could be changed up if you wanted to add, garlic powder. Sometimes I do. I add garlic, even garlic to it with that onion, but I didn't today. So it's just so easy to change it up. Just doing the chicken, using what you cooked the chicken in, if you boil it or simmer it like I did, poach it, I guess. Using that broth that's flavorful from the chicken and from the spices you used, and then kind of cooking your vegetables to where it gets some little color on them, really brings out their flavor. And then just putting it all together, really. Throwing your handful of rice in there. You don't even have to put the rice if you wouldn't want to. It's just a really, really simple recipe, and one that I make very often for our family. If you try it, I sure hope you like it, and I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.